Hello Math Stars! So today's video is going to be on comparing fractions. We are almost through with our packet, and that is some exciting news. So comparing fractions has to do with page 45 in the video. So I was thinking about how I explain it to my kids in class. When you compare something, there's a saying out there. If someone says, well, you can't compare those because it's like comparing apples and oranges. So that's an idiom or figurative language. So I'm going to use that to explain this idea of comparing. So if I have an apple and this is an orange, well, I don't have an orange, but I can't go out to the store to buy anything, so we'll have to use a lemon. So if we use a saying that says, well, you can't compare these because it's like comparing apples and lemons. Well, that's just like saying it's because they are completely different, right? We can compare anything really, but if we want to truly compare how apples taste and how apples look, we have to compare it with another apple, not a lemon. They are too different to be able to properly compare. But if I have a Gala apple and I have an Empire apple, now I can say, well, it's like comparing apples and apples. Now you can have a true comparison because they're the same fruit. They have the same features. You eat them the same way. But what might be different is how they taste. How sweet, maybe one, let's see if this is a Gala and this is Empire. Maybe an Empire is more crisp. Maybe a Gala is more sweet. Okay? Right, they can be different sizes. Some apples grow more small and some apples grow typically larger. But if I tried to compare an apple to a lemon, you can't really compare how they taste because you don't eat them the same way. Right? You can't compare the texture of their skin because it's just too different. Like this skin we eat and this skin we don't. Right? So when we have a fraction, right now, these fractions, 4/5 and 2/3, right now, that's like an apple and a lemon. You can't compare them. We have to get 4/5 and 2/3 to be like two apples, like a Gala and an Empire. An Empire. So in order to get fractions to look the same but have the same value, we have to find common denominators. Okay, so I'm going to just write a think track on top. So I'd say write this down as well, or yes. So to compare fractions, you must make them equivalent. Period. Okay. Find the LCM of both the numerator and denominator. Okay. So by LCM, if you're not sure what least common multiple means, then go back and watch the video. Okay, so when we compare, we want to find the least common multiple. That means if we were to skip count by a 5 and skip count by 3, 5, 10, 15, 20, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. There's my LCM, 15. That is my new denominator. Okay. Ask yourself, what do you do to 5 to get to 15? 5 times 3. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 4 times 3. What do I do to 3 to get to 15? 3 times 5. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 2 times 5. So I don't have a video on how to make equivalent fractions, but this step is repeated over many times in both the adding of fractions and the subtracting of fractions video. Now, these are both like two apples. It's like an Empire and a Gala. Now I can compare these properly. The denominators are the same. Now I just have to compare the numerators. 12 is greater than 12 is greater than 10. Therefore, 12.
What?
Sorry about the camera falling. Okay, so now let's go on to the next problem. Let's go on to problem C. Okay, so again, these are like an apple and a lemon. We can't compare them. Okay, we have to find an LCM or a common denominator. So if I was to skip count by 10 and skip count by 5, you're going to come up with a 10. Okay, what do I do to 10 to get to 10? I multiply by 1. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 3 times 1 is 3. What do I do to 5 to get to 10? I multiply 5 times 2. 5 times 2 is 10. 1 times 2 is 2. So now I have 3 tenths and 2 tenths. Now they're like two apples. The denominators are the same, so now we just pay attention to the numerators. 3 tenths, 2 tenths. Okay, I'll do another problem. This one's a little more difficult, but you have to know your facts. If you know your multiplication facts, this isn't going to be difficult. We have 5/6 and 5/8. Again, it's like an apple and a lemon. We have to get them to look the same, which means we have to get the denominators to be the same. If I skip count by 6 and I skip count by 8, let's see, 6, 12, 18, can't touch the stand, 24. Okay, if I have an 8, 8, 16, 24. Now I see my least common multiple is a 24. Okay, so now think to yourself, what do I do to 6 to get to 24? 6 times 4 is 24. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 5 times 4 is 20. What do I do to 8 to get to 24? 8 times 3 gets me to 24. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 5 times 3 is 15. Now I have two apples. I just have to compare the numerators. So I have a 20 and I have a 15. 20 is greater than 15. Okay, let's go ahead and do one more. This time I'm going to work through the problem and I want you to narrate what I'm doing. Talk through the steps. If you need to, go rewind and watch A, B, or C. Okay. And that is how you compare fractions. Okay, I'd say pause the video to finish the rest of the page. I will show the answer key, but I will also link the answer key in the description of the video.